Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. It is Thursday, so we are talking Turner syndrome. So before we jump into this week's topic, I want to go back and look at what you guys had to say about that SVU episode. Kate said, "I'm with you on the Law and Order episode, Brooke. I pretty much had the same reaction, that they were implying the girl's boyfriend was a pedophile for wanting to be in a relationship with her. And I also don't think she looked like she had Turner's, whatever that means, right? Aside from being short. I got the impression that a writer for SVU found TS in a book and thought it might make an interesting episode. It didn't do a lot to educate people, and maybe you can just chalk it up to Hollywood being an unreliable narrator and educator. We have to tell our own stories if we want people to know what Turner syndrome is actually like." Yes, I love this comment because it is so the heart of what I was trying to get across. It is the very reason I was so conflicted about how I felt about it and why my reaction was what it was. There was just so much that I didn't like about the story they told with it that it felt icky, for lack of a better term. I just did not like what they did with it, although it was incredible to me that they even used the word Turner syndrome. LPS Random TV said, "I agree, it didn't do a lot to teach people. I mean, having Turner syndrome doesn't really make you look like a kid. It just makes you smaller and maybe more kid-like, but not as much as they were acting like. I wish that people would take the time to research something before making an episode of a show. I critiqued the episode as well when I watched it." Yes, once again, they did not represent it very well, and it kind of just felt like they didn't do a ton of research on it and took the small explanation of the symptoms and what the basis of it is and used that to represent it and didn't do any further research to see any other nuances in it. And that was my biggest issue, was how little effort they seemed to put into understanding it. And then of course that manifested itself in saying she looked like a little girl. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't think it's really fair to say a 26-year-old, because I'm short, looks like a 10-year-old. There's just something wrong with that to me, and completely unfair. Kimmy84 said, "Brooke, are you able to post a link to watch this episode?" I have been trying to figure out how. I know Netflix had it at one point because that was what I watched it on. They still have it in their DVDs that you can have them mailed to you, but they don't have that episode streaming anymore. They only have like the last 3 or 4 seasons of SVU on there. So if you have Netflix and want to get the DVD, you can get it in the DVD. If not, Hulu has it. So if you have Hulu, or you can even do a free trial for Hulu, Hulu has the episode and you can watch it there. I will see if I can link anything from Hulu to see if I could link the specific show link. And I will put the season and episode number and title of that episode in the description box. It's called Clock. I don't off the top of my head remember the season or the episode number. So I will put that in the description box below. And I will add an episode link if I am able to. Okay, so on to today's topic. What I really wanted to talk about today is something that, well, I feel like everybody asks questions about quite a bit, and especially moms with new Turner syndrome babies ask a lot of advice for this. I don't feel like it's talked about in the adult spectrum very much, and being proactive about it. And that is fluid retention. So, within a Turner syndrome pregnancy, the biggest concern outside of any heart problems or vital organs that are in danger, the biggest danger of a Turner syndrome pregnancy is the fluid retention. The lymphatic system doesn't hook up till way later than normal, and because of that there is fluid collecting in different places because it's not being guided to where it should be, and it's not being taken through the body like normal in the lymphatic system. Because of that, the lymphatic system of a girl or a woman with Turner syndrome is compromised in some way. It is not at 100%, and that means that there is easy fluid retention even after it is actually hooked up, for lack of a better term, and started working. So once that fluid is normally getting pumped through the body again and the lymphatic system is hooked up and working, you still can easily retain fluid. And there is a ton of girls that I see that they're fighting the fluid retention. They're fighting the puffiness, the swollenness, and it gets really difficult to fight. And that can be something that we need to pay attention to the rest of our lives. So that can look like puffy feet, puffy hands. So there can be a few things we can do to try to help it, especially when they're little. There are certain things like compression socks and compression gloves that are tried to help that puffiness. There's also things like drinking lots of water. It might sound counterintuitive, but it's actually not. Water is a huge part of our body's natural filtration system, where if we're drinking a ton of water, we are getting rid of toxins, we're getting the fluids through our bodies flowing better, and just being hydrated better helps the whole body function better. Having a ton of water can really help those levels. So making it a habit to drink a lot of water is something that can be important for fighting fluid retention. I know for me, the biggest things I fight are my hands and my feet getting puffy. My hands don't get as bad as like my feet and my ankles do at times, but when it's hot out, my fingers swell a ton, and that's why actually my wedding rings are a half a size to a size too big, because if they were the exact right size for me, my hands would swell and I wouldn't be able to wear them. For me, my hands and my feet are the worst. When I've worked a really long day and I've been on my feet all day, especially if I haven't drank enough water, my feet swell very badly and it hurts really bad. And so the first thing I usually do is put my feet up, because elevation helps that. So getting your feet up, getting your hands up, having them above your heart level, so if that means laying down, whatever you have to do. You can also try ice if that helps, it can kind of restrict it, but I don't know how icing it would actually help as far as fluid retention goes. It might help some swelling. The biggest thing is just getting them up and elevated. And then adding that to drinking water can really help flush your system and get the levels normal again. This is something that I did not think about being a product of when my mom was pregnant with me, but it really is, because I don't have a very good lymphatic system because of it. I don't get a ton of good circulation, so I very easily retain fluid when I'm not careful. And actually, I'm not sure how common of a symptom of it this is, but one of my shins is actually skinnier than the other because of my lymphatic system. Because of something that happened with my lymphatic system, there's just something that it did to my legs that made one of my shins smaller than the other one. So if that is something anybody else has noticed, let me know in the comments below, because I've been wondering how common that is. I haven't really seen it talked about. Those are my few tips and things that I try to keep on top of fluid retention: drinking lots of water, elevating my feet after it's been a really long work day, and making sure of your food intake not having too high of salt, because salt can make you retain fluid more, which can make it all that much harder to fight. So if you have a pretty high salt intake in your diet, lowering that a little might help as well. Just things to think about. So I hope this was helpful. I hope this gave you some ideas and some things to think about. Let me know your ideas for fighting fluid retention and what you do to try to prevent that in the comments below. Let me know any specific questions you might have around Turner syndrome in the comments below as well. I'm always looking for new video ideas and topics. and I would love to hear what you would love to talk about. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up and share it with everybody. And if you are not already subscribed to my channel, click the screen and subscribe, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye!